Welcome back, everybody. Episode 2, Secret World Legends. Now we're heading off to our faction handler. Lots of lore here.
Hello there. What news from the Crusade?
Alright, where are we going? Over here.
Come in. Come in. I'm very pleased you can follow directions on the back of a card. It is the basis for us getting along famously. Of course, with an establishment like this, we're practically in the yellow pages under Crusaders. Richard Sonak. So, you heeded our call to arms. You have questions, I can furnish you with answers. Some answers. To begin with, you haven't strayed into some atrocious Dan Brown airport paperback. We are not the Knights Templar. That particular appellation went out in the 1300s along with page boy haircuts and burnings at the stake. No, we run a 21st century, well, let's say a forward-facing organization, but one with its strength in ancient bonds of tradition, in loyalty, in blood, and, to be perfectly frank, in a sizable private army. Our firm guidance is needed to save the world from itself. We have kept the matters of squabbling secret societies and loathsome dimensions discreet. Until the shadows began to peel back across the globe, until these darkest of days came upon us. Now, the evidence is on television, for pity's sake. We are at war. Might will make right, and it will fall upon us to judge the correct application of might. It falls upon you as a soldier of the Templars. Show me that you have the will, and we can teach you the way. Your remarkable powers can be honed and controlled, at least to less disastrous effect on property values. There is a private training area which we have reinforced for just that purpose. Come back and see me after.
I believe this is where we get our secondary weapon.
Here, you'll need this. It's how you get your instructions and submit your reports. Don't go off the grid. You'll find that nobody here likes a loose cannon. Go on now. From now on, this is the most important room in the world for you. It's a place where you can try out all your newfound power without risk of hurting yourself. With the help of a few props, we've done our best to make the environment as realistic as possible. The demons are tied up, but they bleed the same. You'll find a diverse selection of weapons for you to practice and get comfortable with. Work hard, channel your anima correctly, and you'll find the one that suits you. And if you ever wish to explore other paths, you should return here. Here, you'll need this. It's how you get your instructions and submit your reports. Don't go off the grid. You'll find that nobody here likes a loose cannon. Go on now.
Initializing field performance module. DNA encoding recognized. Syncing. Sync complete. Field performance module online.
You'll find everything you need with Brigadier Leith. Your weapons will, of course, need to be upgraded if they are going to be of any use. Don't take too long. We have an urgent matter to discuss. Come see me as soon as you finish. Fortunately, I thought I was going to be able to pick a different secondary, but I guess not.
The time has come to discuss your upcoming excursion to the colonies. I'm afraid it's business, not pleasure. Recently, a small island community on the New England coast dropped off the map. You can disregard the tiresome government cover-ups. There are dark forces at play. Solomon Island is a rock with infamy. In the past, it was trafficked by the Illuminati before they joined the rush to New York. You should be aware that we have history with the Illuminati. Acrimonious history. Of course, under the flag of truce, we have spat and made up. And now we are the closest of enemies. All smiles above the table and drawn knives beneath it. Illuminati are reckless and cannot be relied upon to clean up their own messes. We must find the root of whatever doom has come to Solomon Island. But let me stress that this is not a rescue operation. Should there be survivors, you cannot announce that you've been chosen to deliver anyone from evil. Joan of Arc did, and look where that got her. Our goal is the salvation of all mankind, not on a case-by-case basis. I understand that may stick in your throat, but, well, halos are fading all over town now that there is so much more at stake. Leave as soon as you can. Your travel arrangements have already been made at the Eldwick Underground. I'll be in touch. You should know that I am internally busy, but for my sins, I prefer a more civilized mode of correspondence than rsonic@thetemplars.org. So while my time is limited, my door will always be cautiously ajar. Your smooth transition into the Templars is among my top priorities, certainly in the upper percentile. Should you be unsure of the correct conduct in any situation, come to me in the first instance. We can speak in confidence and largely without judgment. I will take pains to understand. I accepted this position because I saw a new way for the Templars to achieve our old potential. Ours is an organization with no shortage of history. Some might say too much history. But you are our future. Don't squander it. You're quite safe here in London. The old girl is a marvel of arcane geometry, thoroughly warded for your protection and by degrees for ours. Londoners are of special mindset, oblivious to practically any outrage beyond raised congestion charges. Thus, over time, it has become the de facto capital of the secret world. All are, I wouldn't go so far as to say welcome, but permitted. Be assured that none would dare challenge our authority, not here where Temple Hall casts a long shadow. Personally, I frown on architectural bullying, but if one absolutely must throw one's weight around, it pays to erect a cathedral too. Regardless, we Templars should be seen to uphold the truce, so it is vital that you do not cause a scene in public. If you are truly champing at the bit to rough up your rivals, I'm sure Dame Julia could use you. The more unsavory elements about town might also run some form of fight club. Naturally, we would not condone such an event, were it even to exist.
Eyes front.
You'll find the locals outside of Temple Court to be a motley crew, but they are harmless, mostly harmless. They are under our protection and know better than to mess on our red carpet. Obviously, any opinions they impart on our order or the secret world at large should be taken with a helping of salt. Still, in the interests of full transparency, I won't try to dissuade you from hearing dissenting opinions. Take Conrad Engel. Someone ought to. The man is a great diplomat, a mentor to me, and a close personal friend. Regrettably, he has been less diplomatic with his views on Templars policy. It earned him an extended sabbatical, which he seems determined to spend debating Nietzsche with a pint glass. An ever so Germanic funk. You must be single-minded, but I want you to arrive at that single-mindedness yourself. To a refined palate, propaganda leaves such a bad taste. I shall risk the assumption that you're not a skeptic. It will make explication easier on both of us. Someone I trusted dearly once told me, there are no monsters, only us. Advice to live by. But from here on in, you'll find things have a slight tendency towards complicated. Our world is a strange, dark place, and its strangeness is currently accelerating, to say nothing of the darkness. Every myth, every legend, every dirty limerick created to make sense of what is unknowable and unfair, it's all true, or at least sufficiently true to cause alarm. There are monsters. Fewer now, as over the centuries we Templars have done our bit to thin the numbers. But the reality you believed balances quite precariously over the reality you choose not to. You guard that balance now. I trust that you'll come to think of this opportunity as a blessing. A curse would be to have this awareness, yet do nothing. I'm courting accusations of bias here, but you have made the right choice by coming to us. The proper choice. The other societies are barely capable of governing themselves, let alone the world. What we possess above them is not measured in wealth, land, or resources. As if in some cosmic game of risk, it is conviction. Our mission is, as it always has been, the destruction of evil in all its forms. We have auditioned many methods for this mission and speaking candidly to different degrees of success. In our less celebratory moments, Templars have been accused of irrational zealotry, of blinkered intolerance, of fascism. Our line in decor doesn't do us any favors on the latter. I'm telling you this for the sake of background reading. Strive for purity of thought, and purity of action will follow. Impress this on your fellow Templars and on all others by example. I'll take your question, but you should appreciate this is a difficult topic within the establishment. The bad blood between our two societies is positively virulent. It goes far beyond some catty mid-Atlantic feud, even if the British have elevated holding grudges over the revolution to an Olympic sport. No, this is rooted in the 13th century, when Templars' empire was ascendant from the Bosporus to the Orkney. Illuminati, already well versed in throwing any game they cannot possibly win, conspired to turn all the societies against us. How to express our most abject of defeats? We got served. The balance of power was swept from the table, never to be recovered. In the chaos, they wormed into the New World, and it would be impolitic to call them a peculiar American phenomenon, but I suppose I just did. The American dream, freed from the shackles of dignity and responsibility. Never forget what drives them. They dress Ivy League, but are the frat boys spiking Lady Liberty's drinks with Rohypnol at a wet t-shirt competition. They are ruin. To be blunt, little concrete information exists on the Dragon. They thrive on their own mystique. They are variously believed to be a fringe society of inscrutable Zen mystics, or a cell of dangerous anarchic extremists. It seems increasingly possible for them to be one in the same. Since we withdrew from the Kowloon in '97, the Dragon have gone unchallenged in the Far East, but their brand of quiet terrorism is spreading outwards, I suppose almost virally. When we attempted to trace their movements, find some insight or pattern, it produced only circles. Discounting them as a major threat to our plans may have been ill-advised. Certainly they have proved adept at undermining them, but I don't presume to make our strategy. I can only observe how the Dragon rush to fill the void left by our more public struggles. I say, fill the void. Though the curious thing is, they do nothing, as if the void itself was enough. I would prefer not to dignify the thieves and murderers of the Phoenician Navy with an introduction. Sadly, as chivalry endures, so too does piracy. There are mercenary sans frontiers, sans loyalties, even to the highest bidder. Wherever there is a claim to jump, you can rely on their tasteless gold-ringed fingers to be stained with either dirty money or blood. Over the past millennia, the Phoenicians have been allowed to perpetuate their larceny for two reasons. The one discussed in polite company is that we cannot dredge the 7 seas to track them down. The other, that their undeniable talent for dirty work is a valuable commodity among the more morally challenged members of the secret world. We, of course, do not make deals with grave robbers, particularly ones who are still tiresomely sore over the fracas at Carthage. All things considered, they got off lightly with a spot of earth sorting. The regulating body of the secret world convenes in ancient Venice. You might think this would make diplomatic duty an easy sell. I assure you from experience, the charm quickly fades. All societies have representatives on the council. arguing cases and contributing to the air of ritual theatrics. The masks are the votes, or the votes are the masks. I forget now. Normally, I would applaud resistance to going digital, but Venice's backlog stretches to the Bronze Age. You see, at the time of its formation, the Council was small, and the secret world simpler to conceal. But our modern lives have proved much less forgiving of the scientifically impossible. In attempts to compensate, Venice have introduced more and more layers of middle management. The net effect is that nothing brought before the Council is ever decided. Their only real achievement is in preventing all-out war between the societies. For that, we are grateful. May I help you?
Careful. Illuminati and loose lips sink ships and all that. Don't let your guard down.
Don't let your guard down. The war on darkness begins anew. Your Sonic's new favorite, aren't you?
Warning gales in Bartnet, Shannon, Viking, Norfolkshire, Staffordshire, Fitzroy, Seoul and Lundy. The general shipping summary.
Take a load off, have a pint. That's my advice.
Hello? Yes? Now this is the Hollow Earth, Agartha. I do hope you're not here for the local service. It's running somewhat tardy. And by my watch, it's 100 years overdue at 1/4 the hour. Judging from the cut of you, you're more of a world traveller. Well, you've come to the right place. This underground realm, like the great British rail system, is the very model of efficiency. Agartha's thoroughfares sprout from the Tree of Life and connect back to the surface. Distance and time bend in here. Why, you can cross the globe in a brisk walk. Of course, it's perfectly safe. No one's entirely sure how it works. Quite bedeviled, the science boffins, but I'm assured they have their top men on it. Top men. Now, you'll need one of these. Mind your fingers. Thank you. Fascinating devices. Fortunately, there's still enough to hand out like sweets. Consider it your anchor to the Hollow Earth. It can return you here in a flash, proverbially and quite literally. Well then, onwards to the New England coast, what? This foot forward, what? I suppose one day my services will no longer be required to man the platforms. Modernisation encroaches on us all. Ticket machines, indeed. Good for addition, I don't doubt. Always with the correct change. Yet somewhat lacking in the human touch. Like my thunderous mechanical companions here. Oh, I doff my cap to them, though. For how many centuries they patrolled these stations alone, who can say? I pride myself on punctuality and dedication, but they are the original article. What faces they must have seen. Many gentlemen explorers, ladies too, have stepped before you into Agartha's honeyed halls. That pleasant Norwegian chap, for one. Amundsen. Yes, you're in fine company. Fine company indeed. I vouch a ticket machine wouldn't tell you that. You'll get used to the balmy temperature. It's for the bees. They prefer it. Their honey is remarkable, though the aftertaste... a little like machine oil. Her Majesty once commented favourably on Agartha to me. A work of quite miraculous craftsmanship. I believe to tour it was one of her few joys after Albert passed. Well, try not to approach all this as something unnatural. It may not follow the, accepted theories of the Earth's consistency. I assure you, though, it is very much a part of our world. Over the years, these halls have expanded and contracted with the growth of the tree. Like breathing, I expect. Fresh branches find their way to the surface, to many different surfaces. The older growth, further down, leads to other places in other times. Stacked like those Russian dolls that were all the rage in Paris. Why, I encountered myself as a young man once. Curious thing. Topside speaking, I admit to falling a touch behind the times. Out of date. Well, you understand, though, a massive flora-mechanical network won't run itself. One always finds something needing doing down here. I'm certainly more of a groundsman than an engineer. And were we vanished from the world, perish the thought, Agartha would still perpetuate. A golden age without tarnish. I say without tarnish, but in confidence, troubling events are afoot. Tremors like a distant thunder, outpourings of an horrific black water. I believe it gathers far beneath us in great reservoirs. And yet I haven't the nerve to put that theorem to the test. Well, listen to me go on about the rot in the tree of life. You have so many pressing cloak and dagger affairs to see to up there in the world of man. I shouldn't think there's anything to worry about. Not yet. Cheerio.
Noted. Faction rank increased. Congratulations, novice.
Oh, don't worry, kid. You haven't gone back in time. I just happen to be the last of the cowboys. Got your southern welcome right here. Mesquite beans, Texas style. Good ought to face evil on a full stomach. Name's Boone. I'm a troubleshooter. You and I need to have a powwow before you continue your little crusade. You Templars may be taking the high road, but just watch you don't get saddle rash from the high horse, okay? Sure, you can be divided in purpose, but we gotta stand united against darkness. This ain't my first rodeo. I know we're gonna need all the unity we can get. Don't mean to say you stepped into hell, but when the wind blows west, you can just about smell the brimstone. All we know is death and fog came from the sea, or someone brought it back with them. And if I was a gambling man, I'd put money on that someone still being around. Bunch of survivors holed up in Kingsmouth town. Follow that main road and the sound of gunfire, and you'll come to the sheriff's office. Kid, whatever your reasons for being here, you find out what those people died for, and you bring a reckoning. This forest crawls. Gets my fingers itching for two matters. One, the other, figuring out a way to keep them down. It ain't right the way the dead walk the earth. They deserve their 6 feet, same as everyone else. I've sworn to keeping guard here, and you've got places to be. But nothing's stopping you from culling the herd as you go. Hell, figure out what makes them tick and how to make that ticking stop, and I'll buy you a beer at the apocalypse. So go on, kid. Saddle up. The end of the world waits for no man. I come from the south. Real old south. My partner Wolf and I ride for a higher authority. When you need to know us, you'll know us. You got a whole lot to learn about the secret world first, kid. And when you're all learned up, then you gotta understand what you learned. Kinda like peeling the layers off an onion. Probably be as much weeping involved too, won't lie to you. Won't talk down to you neither. You and me, we're the same. I'm just more experienced is all. And experience don't count for much these days. We've been stretched out thin as gauze. We need all the cool heads and steady hands we can get. Thought I had a measure of the absolute darkness in this world. The darkness waiting its turn. Patient as all hell to come through. Turns out I was wrong. So, guess we both got some learning to do. Too much going wrong for such a little island. But this is how it always starts. As I've borne witness more times than I care to remember. Begins with a single act. Usually someone being damn stupid, damn greedy, or both. Let me tell you, kid, that kind is the worst kind. Then it just piles on and piles on. Once that cellar door's open, ain't no one wedging the damn thing shut again. You won't find ordinary people in a place like Solomon Island. They've all been touched. Because, see, here's the thing about the secret world. It's the kind of secret that spreads. The kind that sticks. Yeah, that's how myth and legend got going. On a whisper. Passed door to door, gone viral. Mighty dangerous things to get into people's heads. That's why most myths are 99% warning. Yeah, about as effective as the ones they slap on a packet of smokes. It's a big storm that can reach all the way from New England to the old one. Storm of the century. Gotta say, it's an impressive sight. The army of the Templars on the march. So's a herd of buffalo. And you don't want to find yourself standing in front of one of those. Or be riding with them when they go over a cliff, neither. It's good work you do. And proud. But that can make for a blinkered combination. Get you all tangled up in trying to prove you're prouder or more good than the next guy. Think your bosses would have sent you special delivery if it didn't kick dirt on the Illuminati shoes? You listen, kid. I ain't here to pass no judgment. Just find the measure of yourself. And if it should match up with the company you keep, well then, I'll tip my hat to you. Society is what keeps us apart from the dark.
Heck if I know where you folks keep coming from, but anyone who walks through that door alive pretty much gets my amnesty. Something in your past colors you sourly to a badge, I'd ask you to call it quits in return. We agreeable? Well then, I'm Sheriff Bannerman, and this down-home little state of emergency is what's left of my jurisdiction. Sure, we tried to hold as much of the town as we could at first, more out of nostalgia than any civil defense plan. I won't tell you Kingsmouth was a slice of heaven in a snow globe, but it was ours. Now it ain't. There was always something running under in this town. Maybe what's spilled out now. If that's how it works, I couldn't say hand on heart we didn't have it coming. But that fog, and the things in it, they didn't pick and choose when they came in. Most folks didn't stand a chance. Now, I can see you're armed. I won't kick up any fuss about that. Straight truth is, you'll need to be. Just don't go thinking that means you're deputized as such. Heaven knows if there was ever a time and a place for the right to bear 'em, you're looking at it. Henry has his word of God, that Roger woman has her crystal ball, and Norma out on the point's got a 12 gauge. My money's on Norma. Well, hey. Well, sure wasn't in our yearly budget to put the town under martial law. No, the good old boys on the council were all about thrifty spending, at least above the table. So I squirreled away where I could for some surveillance equipment. Police business, sure, let's call it civic awareness. I'm talking your webcams, your motion sensors. Oh, don't look so surprised. Kingsmouth might be out in the sticks, but we have electricity and everything. Running water in tourist season. Come back when this whole damn mess is blown over, I'll give you the tour far as the old lighthouse. But, to get to the point of it, seems to me we should bring that gear out of mothballs and get it hooked up around town. Gives me some early warning and the others a break from my collection of Jeopardy reruns. Well, I don't mind telling you, this makes no damn sense to me. And I hate to be the one drawing a blank on Final Jeopardy. But right now, folks just need me to look like I got all the answers. The questions, they come later, along with the grieving. Then, after a little time, folks will lose their hankering for the questions. Fact is, a few of them in high places get downright evasive about it. I never do quit. It's a bad habit. I'm just a sheriff after all, not some forensic detective like on that CSI. Thought I had it the worst when the Ravens came around years ago. Was an ugly time for Kingsmouth. Not the kind that makes it to the news. The kind we keep inside. Now, I see those Ravens are all back in town. They with you? Or should I bring them in for questioning? If you're planning on striking out of town, Kingsmouth hospitality dictates I gotta set you right. And I need you to keep this on the down low. But there's worse out there than our undead problem. Worse than anything that shuffles along on two legs, that's for sure. I'm about as pleased as can be that I didn't catch a better look. Could be the kind of thing that gives a nightmare nightmares. You want to stay in the light. Keep out of the trees, out of the fog. We got a few folks left holding out across the island. Well, that was last time I could check, and I'm an optimist. Pays to see the donut, not the hole. Red's Shack at Tolba Bay, the Innsmouth Academy, the Wabanaki Indian Grounds. They should still be safe. Could be the others like you, that wolf fella, have set up camp out there. Toasting marshmallows and such. And steer clear of the pumpkin patch, eh? Just a feeling. Guess you could say I got lucky. Around the time this mess kicked off, I was up at the old lighthouse checking in on Sam Krieg, Maine's best-selling export. Oh sure, we do that fancy book learning around these parts too. Never much cared for horror stories or the man himself. Waving a rifle around in a dressing gown, juiced up, heck of a disturbance of the peace. Well, turns out that was the last of the peace. I gotta write this down, Sheriff. This is goddamn manna from heaven, he says to me when the fog let go. I left him magnuming that opus and hightailed it back to town. Tried to bring Ellie Franklin with me, but Kingdom Coming couldn't pry her from that mansion. Real monster house in the West Island. You can't miss it. I'd appreciate you letting them know we're still here, for when they're done playing survivalists. You sure you want to be talking to me about all this stuff? I mean, I'm probably flattered that you think I'm in on it all. Truth is, I'm always the last to be invited to the midnight meetings at Town Hall. Reckon I must be all thumbs when it comes to secret handshakes. I know this island's cut from a different cloth. A damn weird cloth. Sure as there's a difference between being homely and being plain stupid. Take it from me, no one around these parts is a dope. Not all the time. Everybody knows, or knows someone who knows. Salem's got nothing on us. We had an episode with torches and pitchforks only 25 years ago now. But my job, I gotta do it wearing this police jacket. Not a robe and a wizard hat.
All right, and with that, folks, we're going to call this episode here, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.